Welcome to The World is Your Oyster. Episode number 3. I'm Steve Germanic.
I'm Lisa Levitt.
We're with ActiveTravels here in Boston, Massachusetts. And we're really fortunate today to be welcoming Andy Levine, the founder and CEO of DuVine Cycling Adventure Company. Thank you, Andy.
Thank you.
And Tom Coppack, straight from Tuscany, Italy, one of the great program directors who designed many of the trips for DuVine. So we're thankful to have both of you here today. Thanks for being here.
Great to be here. Thanks, Steve.
So
we're all Massachusetts people. Sorry, we're not in Massachusetts with you. I'm in Colorado and Tom's in Tuscany, but our heart is with you there in Newton. And thank you for wearing the jersey. You guys look great. You look totally pro and ready to go for a ride. So
we are. It's a wonderful day here. We're going to take off right after this interview. And we're big fans. We've gone on trips with you. Puglia, we'd loved it. Fantastic trip, biking along the Adriatic coast and hanging out in the boutique hotels in Alberto Bello, those Trulies. Just a extraordinary trip. So we love the DuVine product. And we often tell people that it's much more intimate, very food and wine focused, fantastic properties, and excellent guides. But I was wondering, Andy, I'd love for you to start off with just telling us your backstory, because I know it's fascinating.
Well, thank you. We are all dreaming of Puglia. Tom and myself have been there many times, Tom more than myself. And really, we thank you two. You guys are leaders in the industry, and just I know how much you love travel and how you are advisors and journalists and everything. And we're fortunate to have you to know us and to be friends with us. So, I started DuVine, sort of like Tom did. We're just people who love to be on a bicycle. I believe that everyone should travel by bike. There's many ways to travel, and that's all good. But for me, it's on the bicycle. Why? Because you get to engage your senses. When I moved to France, I'll never forget riding in Burgundy. There's just something that I'll never forget about the first days riding there, and probably on your trip in Puglia, you engage your senses. You can smell the vineyards, you can smell the terroir, you can smell the fresh croissants, you can smell the aging oak in the barrel of the Pinot Noir and the Chardonnay. You can smell the coq au vin. You can smell the smoke of some person in a cafe with like a 3-year-old cigarette in their mouth. It's just so wonderful. And listen, DuVine was the shirts that you're wearing, the jerseys, it was first DuVine, which means some wine. There was no E, and it was separated because it was all about cycling through the vineyards and tasting wine. And there was nothing crazy about it. I didn't have a plan. I didn't write a business plan. There was nothing. It was more like, if we build it, they will come. Number one, take care of your passengers. Make sure that they have magical little moments that connect you with the local people. Learn from the local winemaker, learn from the cheesemaker, learn from the history person, learn while you're on a bike getting exercise. And nothing has changed over the years. We've been fortunate to have people like Tom who, went to a pretty fancy school up there is Dartmouth in New Hampshire or Vermont? Dartmouth, New Hampshire, and to study history and Italian and to be our guides. And Tom has grown our crew in Italy and Europe, where these are fascinating local people who have a connection with the land. We hire guides who love their region, their country, and want to just show like the backyard. And we've stayed boutique. We don't want to be the biggest. We enjoy, and it's not even being the best. We just care about each customer, small group tours, connecting with the local culture, riding your bike. And listen, we've been a little bit lucky that, when I started in 93-ish, the bike has grown. Like bicycle travel has grown. And it's not that I saw this, I just thought it was the coolest way. And we all know that health and wellness, riding a bike, being on small group tours and exploring by this bicycle has become popular. And so we're fortunate to be able to offer this to people all over the world. And we're really happy and love what we do every day. So.
Now, I know you have a new partnership with Lindblad Expeditions. How is that going to affect, this company philosophy and what you do?
Yeah, well, this has been amazing. I had conversations with Sven and his people before COVID. So it's sort of like dating, I would say. Like, people would never call me up to date me, but you know that if people call you, who do you want to spend your time with, right? So before COVID, I had a nice conversation with Sven, and it was an honor to sit down with him and his team. I mean, these are real innovators in our industry. These are people who take care of the environment, do amazing travel. And they were interested in how we, they liked our brand and liked how we did travel and how we do the bicycle. And I got to know them, and I got to know Natural Habitat, who you got to know, and Ben, and they were just like, we like you, DuVine. We see the opportunity of the bike trip. We don't want to tell you what to do. We love that you're boutique and small. We love your team. We got to know Tom, and we just think that there's growth in the bike industry. So, we didn't need to do anything, but I believe as an entrepreneur, and when you get to a point in your business, you have to figure out, basically it's about client acquisition. How can DuVine get more people to travel the world by bike? And we thought this partnership with them will allow us to basically, fill our tours, give our guides more people on our tours, not growing it. We are still 14 people on our tour. We're not growing to more, and we're expanding all regions. We're just, this is a boutique piece, I think, of Lindblad. They're a big company, but I think they like the way, like NanHab does, very specialized. Like the other company, why am I forgetting? Off the beaten path. Really specialized. And I think it's a great thing. We would have never done this, but it just seemed like it was the right move to be with a really amazing leaders in the industry, smart people who care about travel, who care about the environment, who care about carbon imprint and local, local places. So I'm honored, and we're really excited about it. This wasn't any decision that took 2 minutes. This was a long time discussion, and we're real honored. And I'm leaving tomorrow for Sun Valley, where we're all meeting. And sadly, Tom can't make it. He was invited, but he's over there in Italy, and I'll tell you more about that. But we're all getting together, and we're having conversations. It's how we can just do better with travel, and how all of what we do as specialists and best in class is just, take care of our clients and show them the world. And so I'm stoked. And our team is too. The main thing that we're happy is about that we get to stay DuVine. I'm going nowhere. There's no suits coming in. There's no bigger is better. It's more, it's like smaller is better, caring more and doing things right. I mean, we all you want smart people around always in our industry just to make better decisions. And I think that's the right one. So I'm happy.
Great. Congratulations, Andy. So Tom, really excited about the trips you designed last year, especially during the pandemic. Shorter trips, a lot of American based. We love the Hudson Valley trip, your whole itinerary there. Love the Shenandoah Valley. And just tell us a little bit more about the product development over this last year in America.
Yes, I mean, it's really interesting. I grew up in the Northeast, but I've been in Italy for years and years. And, I feel like I'm rediscovering where I grew up. And talking to Andy, I'm like, I don't think we could have done these trips 10, 15 years ago. Like where America is in its the food scene is really different. And I think it really helped for me to sort of, the French say, no one's a prophet in their own land. You have to go somewhere else, figure out the way things work. And like, we came up with a strategy for how we run trips in Italy that's very Italian based, and it's kind of been spread out over the whole culture of the company. But it was like the breakthrough was when my parents came to visit. We visited some friends of mine, an older Italian couple, for dinner, and it was all they talked about for years. And we turned that into an actually standard part of the tour, because the realization was like, I should just make trips that are the things I would want to do. Like, this is what I took my parents to do when they came to visit. And now we go to this couple's house every tour, and like, people want to meet people and they want to see what's behind the closed doors. And I could tell you about life in Italy as a tour guide, or we could just go into somebody's house and, a picture's 1,000 words. You see the books that are on the shelf and the frescoes that are on the wall that have been there in the family for all these years. And so the real mission on the trips really made a big turn for me, and as a trip designer, when I noticed that. And it was like, all right, how can we get into people's houses? How can we get our clients in front of the right cool people who like, you're just like, you meet you. It's like, some sort of putting your friends on a blind date. Like, clients, you meet Mimo here in Albertobello, and like, I'm gonna just step back and watch this happen. You guys, you've been there, you've seen that. So then taking that model and then applying it back to the US, where people are like, oh, well, you could never happen. That would never happen in the US. Nobody would invite strangers into their home. Nobody would do this. Nobody would cook. Like, it's not true. Like in Hudson Valley, we go to all these great places, and you know, the chef comes over and he does this, and then we go to the farm and there's a chef on site. She cooks a private meal for you. Like, okay, maybe that wasn't going to happen 15 years ago, but because that's what we're looking for, I think we were able to find it. And it's been so fun because it's almost better than being in Europe because there's no language barrier. Like, people can ask all the questions direct to these people. You know, you want to go meet the owner, sit down, don't sit down with somebody who just leads tastings all day. Sit down with the person who's the owner and started it. And like, you know, they got their start in the art world and their architecture, and then they bought this farm up in the city, and like the whole story, people love that. So it's been fun. And that's like the big goal is, you know, obviously have the level of hotels and great rides, but then really scratch the surface and like ask people and knock on doors. And, you know, sometimes people will say no, but when they say yes, like those are the things that really make the difference on the tours. So it's been really fun and cool.
And that's what Steve, that's what we do. I mean, listen, being from America, then going over Europe, and we created this European mall, we're taking that model to the US. And we don't do tours everywhere. We do tours where it works for our DuVine culture, which is the bike, eat, drink, sleep. And it's funny, you know, when I was riding, I'd visit Tom and some of the tours, and I'd be riding in, say, the Hudson Valley or Vermont, and I'd see someone working like in the field, and I'd want to say ciao or buongiorno or bonjour. And it's so bizarre because I really felt like I was in Burgundy, France, and they're speaking English. And it's actually like, wow. Like, this was a 2-hour drive from my office, but I had to go 11 hours away on a plane and do all this stuff and take a train and just to say bonjour. But actually, you know, we can do this in our backyard. And listen, I think Europe, there's nothing that can beat your Puglias or your Tuscanys or your Provences or Bordeaux's. But there's some really special stuff that Tom, mostly I definitely led by Tom, especially the Shenandoah Valley, Hudson Valley, now Tennessee, Vermont, and even Sedona and Santa Fe, Taos, where like you really feel like you can speak another language, but they're speaking English because you're with these local people who are so different. And that's what we found. And that's what we have now in our US product, and we're real proud of it.
Sounds incredible.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
So I think, you know, unless you have some last words, I think we're gonna have to wrap up, but we are just entranced. I mean, we're so curious now about the American product, and excited to get people traveling domestically and the DuVine way.
I had one more question for Tom. Just what do you think about international travel this year? Is it going to open up at all?
I think it will. I think, you know, living here, you know, obviously we read the Italian papers every day, and, you know, they're playing their cards kind of close to the chest, the government, about what they're doing. But we're starting to see, especially the sort of Mediterranean facing EU countries, their governments at the EU level are really pushing to open tourism up, because Spain, Greece, Italy, they really need it. And they're striking side deals with the Brits to let them in on special like vaccine passports. And they're creating this sort of within the EU passport, which could be sort of this backdoor for then opening it up to other countries that have, you know, really low levels of COVID. So I think we're going to see by the end of the summer some level of entry into Europe, and other countries that are in a good state will open up as well. So we're really counting on that, hoping for it.
We have a lot of people booking for it, you know, for this spring, summer, and we're ready to go. And we also have, you know, we're ready. Our guides are ready to go for like European travelers, people from the UK or the Brits or the French. So our European team is standing by. We built a good US team. So it's not that we're closed. People are ready to bike, and we've got our bikes in our vans, but you know, we're real optimistic, as we all know, you know, in the Boston Globe, the revenge travel, I like that. And we're all itching to go, and people are ready to go. The more shots in the arm. So, and we haven't really had to pivot, because what we do, small group tours outside, a lot of outdoor meals, it sort of played in well with what DuVine does. So, but we hope to see you both out there with and we'll get you new jerseys. Those are a few years old. So
I like your jerseys. We put them to good use. Well, thank you both. It's been great having you. And we look forward to sending more people your way, of course, and getting a taste of the DuVine mystique.
Well, we really appreciate
You
it.
guys.
Okay,
And come see Tom. He'll be in the Shenandoah Valley come May, and you don't want to miss one of those trips with him. The Civil War history with a history
Ooh,
major. So
love it.
sounds wonderful. Thanks, guys.
Take care.
thank you.